Okay guys, so we have Kyle putting on the straps right now for our bike because we don't have a stand for the back to do the chain sprocket. So what we're doing is we're improvising.
Oh yeah, we could have just taken the spools off this bike.
Yeah, spools?
Yeah.
What? Ethan.
It was in the group message.
There was so much James was sending us in that group message.
Alright, we're gonna, we'll start right now. So the first step is we're gonna take the front sprocket nut off, and Kyle is doing that right now, as you can see.
I need someone to stand on the rear brake so that when we try to break this loose, the wheel doesn't spin and the nut won't spin. So we want that to stay still while we loosen it.
Alright, so we gotta put the foot on the brake. Kyle's trying to break it right now. Oh, I'm falling. And here we are just struggling and struggling and struggling, and for some reason it was being a pain. So what we're noticing is that there is a bend to keep the nut from twisting, so we're trying to pry it back. Hopefully that'll help us break this front sprocket bolt. Right?
I hope so.
That's funny. I hope so too.
There we go. Okay.
Next, you want to get yourself a tool. That is the chain tool, the PBR chain tool. This guy is very helpful when it comes to breaking your old chain off the bike. So Kyle's got one, picked them up for about, I think they're about $90 to $100 depending where you get it from. I'll put a link in the description down below. But yeah, these are great for taking out the pins off the chain. And you want to take off the master chain, or yeah, the master link, but if you can't find it, you can take any one off. It's not a big deal, and Kyle's explaining that right there. Make sure you get the right size lug nut so that you can twist it through. Loosen that sucker up and you're good to go.
The pin for the chain is now right inside there.
I gotcha.
Pull it out. There it is. So that just popped out of the chain. Now this chain will come apart.
Woo!
And
I need to stabilize it.
I think it's in gear. This one's a lot easier to get off. The rear is usually a lot easier than the front.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Now, we get a rubber mallet so we don't mess up the threads.
Sweet.
I like the rear, this one's easy.
Right. Yoshi!
This takes a little bit of
Finesse.
Yep, you kind of have to wiggle it around and then keep it supported because you got the brake pads on the rotor still. Try to bring it down as straight as possible. And voila.
Sweet. Look at you.
Now you can kind of see the rear brake is kind of protruding from the tire, and we're gonna have to lay this flat. But you don't want to lay it on the rotor because they're very brittle. You can mess them up. So we're gonna get like
a mat.
Yeah, a towel or a mat.
Okay.
Before we do that.
So we found a milk carton, and we're just gonna put it on there so that we don't scratch the rear brake and keep it supported. So that's good. And then we're just gonna remove this rear sprocket, right, Senor?
Yes, sir.
When I say we, I mean Kyle's gonna, yeah.
Yes, we are.
So we have a 15 size right here.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes a little bit to break them loose.
Right. This is a 2001 Kawasaki ZX6R. And 15 worked on the back sprocket.
Yeah.
Alright, sweet.
So we're gonna take this puppy off. Now all you need to do after you take the old one off, I mean it's as simple as unbolt and bolt the new one back on. Yep.
Let's do it. Awesome.
It fits.
Well, that's good.
when you tighten these up, it's always a good idea to actually tighten them in a star pattern. So you'll tighten one, then you'll tighten the next one across, and then over to here and over to here and across and across. And you do that because you want it to tighten evenly. Otherwise, if you just tighten one side, it might pull it down and then bind on the other side.
Good life hack. Motorcycle hack.
Oh yeah, with tires too. So we'll just get them all finger tight. Well, after you get the rear sprocket off and put back on, you can do the same with the front. We already unscrewed it, but same thing. It's as simple as pulling it off, and it's got these splines in here that'll line it right back up with your transmission there on the new one. And we'll just bolt that back on as well.
Sweet.
Bingo.
Sweet. While the rear wheel is off, we take this opportunity to clean. Because why not? When I say we, again, I mean Kyle's a sport. We appreciate you. Alright, on goes the rear wheel.
It could be kind of a pain to get all these holes lined up and trying to push the axle through at the same time and getting the brake pads around the rotor, but just play with it and you'll eventually get it.
Kyle said it's not a real job unless you bust your knuckle.
Yep. And when you put this rear wheel back on and you get the axle through, you want to put the nut on, but you don't want it tight yet, because we got to, one thing, put the chain on and get the master link to wrap around without it fighting us. And then we want to be able to adjust the chain tension after we're all done before we tighten up that axle.
New chain.
Beautiful. This can be kind of tricky, but basically what you want to do is just feed it through. I like to go over the top because then you're not fighting gravity. And this front sprocket.
So what we're seeing is that the chain is a little bit too long. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break the link probably right around where his thumb's at. Alright, so as you can see, we were able to cut the link, and we're gonna start install the master link now. Kyle is on the move.
So whenever you buy a new chain, they always give you this grease to put on you want to put it on before you slip it on, and then on the other side afterwards. You want to use a liberal amount. They give you enough to use a liberal amount, and it's a good idea to just use it all up whenever you put these on. And they come with 4 O-rings because you want 2 on each side. So you put 2 on, slip it through, and once this is poking through,
There we go.
then we'll add some more. Put it everywhere you can, and it's not gonna fit on there. These aren't gonna poke out just yet. You gotta press that in and do the rivet. So it's gonna kind of look funny, like it's not right at first. And that's where this tool comes in. We're gonna flip it.
What's that tool called again, Kyle?
It's a Motion Pro chain, PBR chain tool.
Gotcha. That looks like Motion Pro PBR chain tool. Get one of those, guys. All right, so what's the proper measurement for this one?
Somewhere around 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. If it's any less or more than that, then you're not really in spec. So where we're at right now, from the swing arm to the bottom of this link is about 2.5 inches. And if we push it all the way up to where it's tight, it's pretty much right in between 1.25 inches and 1.5 inches, and that puts us right in that
Sweet.
in that limit. So right now that we got the chain tension, we left this loose, if you remember, so that we can move the wheel back and forth to get the chain tension. So now we're just gonna tighten this up. Put the cotter pin back in here if you don't have one. Some do, some don't, but we're gonna put it back in, and this bike will be ready to ride.
Sweet! As always, don't forget to put the cover back on the front sprocket. Alright, there we have it. A brand new chain sprocket. It looks great. The chain looks good. Put the cover back on. And we're gonna fire this sucker up. Woo! We're good. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I appreciate Kyle because he's really who did everything. The bike is ready to go. We're gonna do a couple laps around the neighborhood. So if you like this, give it a huge thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button to tune in for some more awesome stuff, man. Thanks, Kyle.
I'm ready to find you.
No problem, anytime.
Next get to you.
Later.